Welcome to my channel. Subscribe and enjoy daily stories about cheating, revenge, and relationship advice. The door clicked shut behind me as I stepped into the house, my suitcase trailing behind. The familiar scent of home greeted me, a blend of Laura's perfume and the candle she always liked to burn. It felt comforting for a second, until I noticed the eerie silence. Usually, she would have music playing, or at least the TV on. But today, there was nothing. My heart gave a small tug of anxiety, but I brushed it off. Jet lag, I told myself. Laura. I called out, setting my suitcase by the entryway. I listened for any signs of life, but there was no response. It had been a long week. 5 days in Chicago for meetings, endless handshakes, PowerPoint slides, and business dinners that felt more like interrogations. All I had wanted was to come home, surprise Laura, and maybe fall asleep in her arms. We had been distant lately, but I hoped a small gesture would remind us both of what we still had. I walked further into the house, taking in the empty kitchen, the spotless countertops. Nothing seemed out of place, but something still gnawed at me. I made my way toward the stairs, ready to head up and find her. Maybe she was napping. As I reached the top of the stairs, I heard something, a faint laugh. I froze. Laura never laughed like that when she was alone. That was the kind of laugh she saved for company. My stomach tightened as I moved quietly down the hallway, my heart pounding louder with each step. The door to our bedroom was cracked open, just a sliver, but it was enough for me to see. Through that narrow gap, my world shattered. There she was, Laura, her body intertwined with someone else's. At first, it didn't register. It was like my mind couldn't accept what my eyes were seeing. But then I saw him. Ethan, her boss, his face just inches from hers. They were oblivious to me standing there, too wrapped up in each other to even notice. The man she swore she had no interest in. I could feel the anger rising from somewhere deep inside me, growing, pulsing, taking over. My vision blurred for a moment, and my hand tightened on the doorframe. I pushed the door open with a bang. What the hell is this? My voice came out in a growl, sharp enough to slice through the room. Laura gasped, jolting upright, pulling the sheets around her as if they could shield her from the truth. Ethan's face turned pale, but he didn't move. I could see the panic in Laura's eyes, but the sight of it only fueled the rage burning inside me. David, she exclaimed, her voice cracking. This isn't what it looks like, isn't what it looks like. I spat the words back at her, barely holding myself together. You're in bed with your boss, Laura. What the hell else could it be? Ethan cleared his throat, trying to gather some shred of dignity as he spoke. David, let's not make this worse than it already is. Shut up, I snapped, my glare shifting to him. You don't get to talk right now. You're lucky I haven't put your face through that wall. Laura's lip quivered as she tried to pull herself together, but the tears had already started. David, please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. I laughed bitterly, the sound surprising even me. You didn't mean for this to happen. What did you think was going to happen when you started screwing your boss? David, No, I cut her off, holding up a hand. I don't want to hear any more excuses. You think I'm an idiot? That I didn't notice you pulling away, spending more time at work? And this guy, I gestured toward Ethan, this is what you've been throwing away our marriage for. Ethan, still sitting awkwardly on the edge of the bed, finally spoke up again. Listen, David, I know this looks bad, but, I turned on him, my fists clenched. Shut up. Just shut the hell up, Ethan. You're not going to explain your way out of this. There was a long silence. Laura's sobs filled the air, but I couldn't bring myself to care. My chest felt heavy, like my heart had been ripped out and replaced with molten steel. I could barely stand to look at her anymore, to see the betrayal written all over her face. You know what? I said, my voice low and cold. I'm done. I'm not going to stand here and listen to any more of this. You made your choice. Laura's eyes widened in panic. Wait, David, please, we can fix this. No, Laura. We can't fix this. You can't fix this. I turned and walked out of the room, my legs trembling as the adrenaline surged through me. I didn't stop until I was back downstairs, out the front door, and in my car. I sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My mind raced with thoughts of revenge, of payback, of how I would make both of them suffer for what they'd done. But all I could feel, deep down, was the void that Laura had left inside me. I drove away, knowing that I would never be the same again. The morning sun streamed through the blinds as I stared blankly at the wall, my mind still reeling from the confrontation with Laura and Ethan. The empty house felt suffocating, a stark reminder of the betrayal that had shattered everything I once knew. I knew I needed to take action, and I needed help. Ryan had always been my rock, my go-to in times of crisis. I called him, my hands trembling slightly as I dialed. Hey, man. It's me, I said when he picked up. David. What's going on? You sounded off last night, Ryan replied, his voice filled with concern. I need you to come over. It's about Laura. What happened? He asked, his tone shifting. Are you okay? No, I'm not okay. I caught her cheating with her boss, I spat, my voice tight with emotion. There was a moment of silence on the other end. Oh, damn. I'm on my way. When Ryan arrived, I was pacing the living room, trying to shake off the residual anger that still clung to me. He stepped in, his expression serious. Tell me everything, he said, closing the door behind him. I ran a hand through my hair, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. I walked in on them. She was in bed with Ethan. I can't believe she would do this to me. Ryan crossed his arms, nodding. I'm sorry, man. That's rough. What are you thinking? I want revenge, I said, my voice hardening. I want to expose them. I want everyone to know what they did. Okay, Ryan said slowly. But how do you plan to do that? I took a deep breath, the gears in my mind starting to turn. I've been thinking. Laura has been careless. She left her phone unlocked the other day, and I noticed some messages from Ethan. I need more evidence, but it has to be solid. I want to destroy him. Ryan raised an eyebrow. You're sure about this? You know it could get messy. Messy? Ryan, my whole life just blew up. I don't care about messy. I just want them to feel what I felt when I walked in on that scene. Ryan let out a sigh, running a hand over his face. All right, then. Let's do this. We need a plan. We can start by gathering anything you can find, texts, emails, anything that proves they've been seeing each other. I nodded, my mind racing with possibilities. I need to find out where she goes when she leaves the house for work late at night. I'll follow her, catch them in the act. Sounds like a plan, Ryan said. Just be careful. If she catches on, she might back off or change her routine. Yeah. I know, I said, already plotting my next moves. Later that day, the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows as I waited outside Laura's office. I had told her I was going to spend some time working on a freelance project, a convenient excuse for my absence. The parking lot was nearly empty, save for a few cars, and the office lights flickered to life one by one. As I scanned the area, Ryan texted me, "How's it going?" I replied, "Still waiting. Might take a while." Just as I finished typing, I saw Laura emerge from the building, her heels clicking on the pavement. My heart raced as I noticed her glancing around, a nervous look crossing her face. I felt a surge of adrenaline and slipped into the shadows, following her at a distance. After about 10 minutes of walking, she turned a corner and walked into a nearby cafe. I took a breath, trying to calm the rising storm of emotions inside me. This wasn't just about her infidelity anymore, this was about reclaiming my power. I settled at a table outside, positioning myself where I could see the cafe entrance. Minutes passed, and just when I thought maybe I had miscalculated, Ethan walked in, a casual air about him that made my blood boil. "They're really doing this," I muttered under my breath. My phone buzzed again. "Ryan, you get anything yet?" "Me, yeah. They're together now." I pulled out my phone, recording their conversation discreetly as they chatted over coffee, their chemistry apparent even from where I sat. I couldn't believe how comfortable they were with each other, how easy it looked. My fingers tingled as I captured every laugh, every touch, every stolen glance. After about 20 minutes, they stood up and walked out of the cafe, oblivious to my presence. I quickly followed, careful to keep my distance. My heart pounded in my chest as they approached a car parked on the street, a sleek black sedan that I recognized as Ethan's. Are they really about to do this? I whispered to myself, my anger morphing into a burning determination. I couldn't let this continue. I needed to confront them at the right moment. They climbed into the car, and I immediately sent a text to Ryan, "I have enough evidence. Let's meet." "Where?" Ryan replied almost instantly. "Home. I'll need your help to sort through it." I rushed back to my car, feeling a mixture of excitement and rage. I had the proof I needed, and now I just had to figure out how to use it to bring them both down. As I drove, thoughts whirled in my head. I'd show Laura that this wasn't just a fling, I'd expose Ethan for the coward he was. They would face the consequences together, and I would finally have my revenge. The next day, I woke up with a renewed sense of purpose, the adrenaline still coursing through me from the night before. I had the evidence I needed, and now it was time to put my plan into action. Ryan arrived at my house early, his face set with determination. "All right, man," he said as he walked through the door, a coffee in hand. "What do we have?" I gestured to the living room, where I had set up my laptop, ready to compile everything. I recorded their conversation at the cafe. There's enough there to prove they've been seeing each other. We just need to build the case. Ryan took a seat beside me, scrolling through the footage on my screen. "Let's take notes. We need to highlight the key moments." As we watched, I couldn't help but feel a mix of anger and sadness. Hearing Laura laugh with Ethan made my stomach churn. The warmth in her voice was meant for me, not him. "There," I pointed at the screen, pausing the video. "Did you hear how she responded when he asked about the weekend? It's like they're planning something together." Ryan nodded, his brow furrowed. "This is solid. We can use this to show she was lying about working late and spending time with him instead." "Exactly. And it's not just about their relationship. I want to show how Ethan has used his position to manipulate her. This isn't just an affair, it's abuse of power," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "Good. We need to frame this right. If we expose him, it'll not only hurt him, but it'll also show Laura the kind of person she's been with," Ryan replied, a fierce look in his eyes. After several hours of compiling evidence, we had created a file that showcased the timeline of their affair, complete with screenshots of text messages and snippets of video footage. As we reviewed everything, I felt a sense of satisfaction creeping in, almost a thrill from knowing I had the upper hand now. "All right," I said, leaning back in my chair. "What's next? I can't just email this to everyone, we need to make a statement." Ryan tapped his fingers against the table. "I think we should approach some of Ethan's colleagues. If we can get them to talk about his reputation, it'll add weight to what we have. We should make this public, let everyone know who he really is." "Good idea," I replied, feeling a surge of excitement. "Let's do it. We'll start with the ones I know. They might be willing to share what they've seen." Later that day, as the day wore on, I reached out to a few of Ethan's colleagues, arranging to meet them for drinks after work. Ryan and I sat at a corner table in a dimly lit bar, a casual atmosphere that belied the tension in the air. "Are you sure about this?" Ryan asked, his expression serious as he took a sip of his drink. "You don't want to be blindsided if they don't want to talk." I nodded, my determination unwavering. "I need to know what people think of him. If he's a snake in the office, it'll only add to my case. Plus, this will keep the pressure on Laura. She needs to realize what she's gotten into. Just then, I spotted Derek, one of Ethan's colleagues, entering the bar. He scanned the room and made his way over, a hesitant look on his face. "David, hey," he greeted, taking a seat across from us. "What's this about?" "Thanks for coming, Derek. I wanted to talk to you about Ethan," I said, keeping my tone steady. Derek shifted uncomfortably. "Is this about his work?" "I mean, he's a good boss, right?" "Good boss?" I repeated, raising an eyebrow. "You know he's been crossing boundaries with employees. What do you really think of him?" Derek glanced at Ryan, then back at me, weighing his words carefully. "Look, I don't want to get involved in any drama, but there have been rumors. People talk, you know. He's been a little too friendly with some of the women in the office." I leaned forward, my interest piqued. "What do you mean by too friendly?" "Flirting, inappropriate comments, stuff like that. Some of the women have complained, but nothing ever comes of it," Derek replied, a hint of frustration in his voice. "It's like he thinks he can get away with anything because he's the boss." Ryan exchanged a glance with me, and I could see the wheels turning in his head. "That's exactly the kind of information we need," he said, his voice firm. "If you have anything concrete, it could really help David." Derek hesitated, glancing around the bar. "I don't want to end up in the middle of this." "Understandable," I said. "But think about the women he's messing with. They deserve to be protected. If you have anything, even just hearsay, it could make a difference." Derek sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Okay, there was this one incident last year. A woman named Carla mentioned how Ethan cornered her in the break room and made some pretty inappropriate remarks. She reported it, but nothing happened. Did anyone else hear it?" I pressed, my heart racing. "Yeah, a few of us were there, but you know how it goes. If it's not written down or formal, it's just gossip," Derek said, looking conflicted. I could feel the pieces of my plan starting to come together. "Derek, if you're willing to stand up, it could change everything. We can't let him get away with this." He looked at me, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "All right, I'll think about it. But I can't promise anything." As we left the bar that night, I felt a mix of anticipation and dread. I was pushing the boundaries, exposing not just Laura's betrayal but the toxic environment Ethan had created. It was a dangerous game, but I was committed to seeing it through. I wouldn't just let them walk away unscathed. The next morning, I received a call from Ryan. "David, you're not going to believe this." "What is it?" I asked, my heart racing. "I talked to Carla," he said, his voice brimming with excitement. "She's willing to go on record about Ethan's behavior. She's tired of being quiet about it." "Are you serious?" I felt a rush of adrenaline. "Yes. We need to meet with her and get everything in writing. This could be the breakthrough we need." "Let's do it," I said, my resolve solidifying. It's time Ethan faced the consequences of his actions. He's going to fall, and I'll make sure it happens. With a renewed sense of purpose, I knew the pieces were falling into place. It was just a matter of time before the truth came out, and I was ready for the fallout. The courthouse loomed ahead, a stark, imposing building that felt like a monument to justice, or, in my case, revenge. I had spent the last few weeks gathering evidence against Ethan and Laura, meticulously compiling every detail into a comprehensive dossier that could shatter their lives. I had even contacted a lawyer to help me navigate the treacherous waters of the impending divorce and possible legal action against Ethan for his misconduct. As I approached the entrance, my heart raced with a mixture of excitement and dread. Today was the day I would confront them both in front of the people who mattered, my friends, family, and colleagues who had no idea about the reality behind my perfect marriage. Ryan met me outside the courthouse, his face tense but determined. "You ready for this?" he asked, falling into step beside me. "As ready as I'll ever be," I replied, taking a deep breath. "I just want them to know I won't back down." "Good. Let's make sure they feel the weight of what they've done, he said, his voice low but intense. Inside, the atmosphere was heavy with tension as we navigated the crowded halls, the chatter of lawyers and plaintiffs echoing off the walls. My gaze darted around, searching for Laura and Ethan. I spotted them in a corner, huddled together, their expressions tense as they exchanged furtive whispers. Ethan's demeanor was calm, as if he believed he could charm his way out of this mess, while Laura looked nervous, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. "Stay focused," Ryan said, nudging me slightly. "We're here to make a statement." I nodded, steeling myself for what was to come. We walked toward them, and I could see the moment they noticed us. Laura's eyes widened in surprise, and she instinctively took a step back from Ethan. "David," she said, her voice shaky. "What are you doing here?" "I think you know why I'm here," I replied, my tone flat. "I'm here to expose the truth." Ethan straightened, a smug smile on his face. "You think you can intimidate me in a courthouse? You're wasting your time, David." "I'm not here to intimidate, I'm here to bring the truth to light," I shot back, the anger bubbling beneath the surface. "You've manipulated everyone around you for too long." Laura shifted uncomfortably, her gaze flitting between me and Ethan. "David, please. We can talk about this." "Talk?" I interrupted, my voice rising slightly. "What is there to talk about? You cheated on me with your boss. You've lied to me for months." Ethan stepped forward, his expression hardening. "Let's keep this civil. I don't want to make a scene." "Too late for that," Ryan said, stepping up beside me. "You think you can just sweep this under the rug? We have evidence, Ethan." Ethan laughed dismissively. "Evidence? You think anyone is going to believe you over me? I have a solid reputation." "Reputation?" I scoffed. "Your solid reputation is built on lies. You've abused your power at work, and we have witnesses who are ready to back us up." Laura's eyes darted back and forth between us, panic creeping into her expression. "David, please. I made a mistake, but I want to fix this. We can work things out." "Work things out?" I echoed, disbelief flooding my voice. "You think I can just forgive and forget? You broke my trust, Laura. You chose him." A voice from behind us called out, "David." It was Carla, looking both determined and anxious. She approached us, her posture straightening as she stood beside me. "I'm here to speak the truth." Ethan's confidence faltered for a moment, and I could see the tension in his shoulders. "What's this?" he asked, his tone defensive. "Carla's going to testify about your inappropriate behavior at the office," Ryan said, a hint of triumph in his voice. "You're not the untouchable boss you think you are." Carla nodded, her voice steady. "I've seen how you treat your employees, Ethan. You think you can flirt and manipulate without consequences. It stops today." "Fine," Ethan spat, the bravado in his voice cracking. "You can't prove anything." "Actually," Carla replied, "I'm willing to go on record about your actions. And I'm not the only one. There are others who've witnessed your behavior." The tension in the air thickened, and I felt a surge of hope. This was the turning point I needed. "You're done, Ethan," I said, my voice steady. "You can't hide anymore." As we moved further into the courthouse, I felt a mixture of excitement and fear. The courtroom was packed with people, friends, family, and onlookers drawn by the unfolding drama. I took my place beside Ryan and Carla at the front, my heart pounding. The judge entered, and silence fell over the room. As the proceedings began, I knew I had to keep my focus sharp. I needed to make my case clear, not just for myself but for everyone else who had suffered under Ethan's manipulation. "David," the judge called, gesturing for me to approach. I stepped forward, heart racing. "Do you have evidence to support your claims?" I took a deep breath and produced the dossier, handing it to the judge. "Yes, Your Honor. This includes recorded conversations, text messages, and witness statements about Ethan's misconduct and my wife's affair." The judge began to review the evidence, and I watched as the tension in the room grew. I could see Laura's face pale, realization dawning on her that this was bigger than either of us. "Your Honor," I said, finding my voice. "I'm here to hold Ethan accountable for his actions and to end the toxic cycle of manipulation that has affected not just me but many others in his workplace. This isn't just personal, it's about integrity and respect." The judge nodded, his expression serious. "Thank you, Mr. David. We will take this evidence into consideration. It's clear this is a matter of great concern." As I stepped back, I felt a rush of adrenaline and relief. I had done it. I had stood up for myself and others. And now, Ethan's fall was imminent. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted as Ethan sprang to his feet, panic etching itself onto his face. "You can't do this," he shouted, his voice breaking. "I'll ruin you. You think this is over?" "Actually, it is," I said firmly. "You've messed with the wrong people, Ethan. You'll pay for what you've done." He turned to the crowd, his voice rising in desperation. "You all know me. You know I'm not that person. Don't let him ruin my life." The tension in the room escalated, and I could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on us. Ethan's facade was cracking, and I could see the fear behind his bravado. "Ethan, sit down," the judge ordered, but Ethan ignored him, his demeanor becoming increasingly erratic. Before I knew it, he was backing away, wild-eyed, and reached for a nearby table, grabbing a heavy object, a decorative paperweight. "Stay away from me," he shouted, brandishing the weight in his hand as the crowd gasped, fear spreading through the room. "Ethan, don't do this." Laura cried out, her voice laced with panic. I stepped forward instinctively, my heart racing as I faced him. "You don't want to do this. Just put it down." "Don't tell me what to do," he yelled, his voice echoing in the tense silence. "Think about what you're doing." Ryan shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "This isn't going to solve anything." Ethan's grip tightened around the object, his eyes darting around the room, searching for support that wasn't there. "You don't understand. They'll believe me. I can't lose everything." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm despite the adrenaline surging through me. "You've already lost everything, Ethan. This is your chance to stop before it gets worse. Just put it down." Finally, after what felt like an eternity, his arm began to tremble, and the paperweight slipped from his fingers, clattering to the floor. The room fell silent, everyone holding their breath as the weight of the moment settled. With tears streaming down her face, Laura stepped forward. "Ethan, please. Just stop." The fight drained out of him as he collapsed onto a nearby chair, burying his face in his hands. "I'm sorry," he mumbled, his voice muffled. "I didn't want it to end like this." I felt a strange mix of emotions, anger, sadness, relief, all swirling together. This was the moment I had sought for so long, but seeing him break down made me realize how deep the scars ran. "Ethan, it's too late for apologies," I said quietly. "You had a chance to be better, and you threw it away." As the courtroom security stepped in to assess the situation, I turned to Ryan and Carla, gratitude washing over me. We had done it together. We had exposed the truth, and now it was time for healing to begin, first for me, and then hopefully for everyone else affected by Ethan's actions. As we left the courthouse, I felt lighter, the weight of betrayal slowly